Welcome to day 5. Now, here's the thing. Have you practiced what you did in the previous lesson? If you haven't, I want you to pause this video lesson and go back and practice. Because the way you develop your skills is by practicing. And this online course is not designed for you to be an information that you just consume. Until you practice, until you apply what you are learning, you will never be able to master these skills. So I want you to train yourself to be taking every exercise that I'm giving you and practicing everything that we cover at the end of each video lesson. So if you haven't done any practice on what we did in the previous lesson, lesson 4, I want you to pause this video lesson, go back and practice, and then once you're done, come back to this video lesson. Because if you just listen to the video after video after video, you never be able to master these skills. And the key is not just to finish up this course. The key is to finish up this course having obtained and gained and acquired the skills that you want. This is why you enrolled into this course. You came here for skills, not just information, right? So I don't want to be or to give a disservice to you where I allow you to move from one video to the other without practicing. So if you haven't done your practice, go back, do the practice of everything that we've covered, then come back to this video lesson, day 5, and let's get started. If you have done practice on what you did in the previous lessons, great. Let's get started this video lesson. All right, so today, what you notice is yesterday's lesson. It was about 50 minutes, and because of what we have to cover, we're gonna need to pack. I'm going to pack quite a ton of stuff in this video lesson so that we compensate for the yesterday's lesson whereby we went for about 50 minutes. I'm building and designing this video lens to be about 1 hour and 30 minutes, right? So that we are able to really concentrate, right? And help you to be developed within that span of time, to be developing a ton of skills. And so this video lesson is gonna be a little bit longer, about 1 hour or 1 hour and a half, right? So I want you to get ready. I want you to manage your state as we go through this video lesson. We're going to cover a ton of stuff. All right, so let's just dive in. What I want us to cover today is I want to show you how to create what you call columns. Okay, and then I'm going to introduce you to objects. And so I want your full concentration. I'm also going to show you how to number your pages. And then I'm going to show you also how to save your work. So there's a ton that we need to cover. So I want you to manage your state, and I want you to really be ready for an amazing journey in this video lesson. So let's get started now. Not every time that you're gonna need to have a document that has paragraphs or bullets. There are times you're going to require to create columns, like you see in newspapers, whereby you have a page that has several columns and you enter your text in those columns. So I want to show you how to handle columns. So how do I create columns? We're going to retain our original work the way it is, because I want you to be able to see the progress that you are making up to this present moment, what you are designing, and the progress that you're making every single day. So what you notice is that if you really typed what we have at this point, what you will notice is either automatically Word document has inserted another page. If it hasn't, all you need to do is continue these bullets, add a few more things, and while you skip over to the next page. Let's do that. Let's add let's say something like Windows, let's say we can add something like sorry, let's just want to add something here that will make this crossover to the next page, and you can do the same if your document hasn't crossed over to a new page like this one that you can see down below. Just add more information here and it will cross over. It will also be good for practice. You'll be practicing. So let's call this one Microsoft Word. I press enter, and then it skips to the next page. If it doesn't skip to the next page, add more information until it skips to the next page. Once in this new page, this is where we want to start our today's work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the bullet by clicking here, and that bullet is gone. So I'm on a new page. This is where we're going to do our work. Let's start simply. Let's call this one lesson 5 actually. Lesson 5, because we are in the lesson 5. Let's call this one online computer training course. I showed you how to put stroke there. Let's see. Let me pull out my keyboard here, and I want us to put this right here. And the way we do it, like we said, you have to activate shift. All right, we make sure our cursor is right there between course and lessons, and then I click there, and then we have that one. I can just close. There we have. So we are into lesson 5. I can highlight this one by clicking there. I highlight the computer online computer training. I can highlight it just as a refresher. I can go to home, and then we can change the font color. Okay, this will refresh your mind. Font color, and that is it. So this training we have G there. Right, lesson 5. Let's make lesson 5 so let's call this one day 5. We have this day 5. Then let's put an hyphen in between, or colons. Showed you how to do colons. Let me pull the keyboard. You pull the keyboard, you click shift, hold down shift in your keyboard, and then click where we have colons. And so I'm gonna put the colons here, so make sure click there, day 5, lesson 5, and I hold down shift. Make sure your cursor is where you want the colons to be placed. Then I click colons. Sorry, I click colons. Okay, we have a problem. I actually wanted colons, so I'll shift, and then I click colons. Good. So there we are. I will close this. Probably that has refreshed your mind on how we did a number of those things now. So all right, we have the colons the wrong place, so let me put it in the right place. The right place is right here. There we are. So let's highlight it, the lesson, and let's make it red. Great. All right, so let's get started. Let's say I want, in this page, I don't want to have paragraphs, I want to have columns. Okay, so I'm scrolling upward, so I want to have columns here. How do you print those columns? It's easy. You go to page layout, all right, and then you go to columns. You click columns here, and then you go to more columns, and here we are. This is where we create our columns. What you notice is this is just one column, the entire page just one column. But whatever I want this page to be in 2 columns, how do I do that? You can either pick 2 here, and the preview will show you these are 2 columns, or you can pick 3 here, and the preview will show you these are 3 columns. But what if I want more than 3 and you don't have 4 columns here? If you want more than 3, you just add the columns here. So I click here, and then I have 4 columns, and from there I can click OK. And now you notice it has tried to change everything, including the first page that we came up with here. Alright, but we didn't want that, so we need to reverse that one. Remember how I told you you can use the undo command to really change or reverse any process that you've done? That is exactly what you're going to do. So come back here and click undo, and we are back to where we were. Now we want to create columns only on this page, not on the entire document, just on this new page. We want to retain our original document or our original page, page number 1, with the work as it is. So how do you do it? You go to columns, of course you go to page layout, you go to columns, you come to more columns, decide the columns that you want here. Let's say we want 4 columns. Alright, we have our 4 columns, but then here's the trick. You come here, notice apply to, and it's indicated whole document. You don't want to apply these columns to the whole document, because if you do, it will apply the columns to the first all the pages in this document, right? But you want to retain your original work as it is. You only want these columns in this new page. So how do you do that? You click here and you pick this point forward. Now, if your cursor was here when you came to this column changes, or when you want to set the columns, MS Word will create columns only from where the cursor is moving forward, and it will not touch the rest of your work. Alright, so we click OK. We click this point forward. Notice the preview shows some paragraphs at the top and a change here. This paragraph here shows the original work, this page here, which is not in columns, but our column starts from here moving downward. So you click OK. Now what you notice is your original work is already there. Okay, it is not touched, right? Scroll upward. Now anything that you type from here will be in columns. How do you know there are 4 columns? They are here. This indicates a column, this clear space. The gray is the separation. Another clear space, another clear space, another clear space. So these are 4 columns. So let's see, we want to type something and see whether we are going to have it in paragraph. So let's say today, and let's make sure it's not bold. So I have to go to home and deactivate bold because it's active. B is active. Notice that's a golden kind of highlighting. So I'm going to click it. It's inactive. And now I type today. Excited to learn how to create columns. And let's fix this one. I'll just highlight it and I'll create columns. So notice now this text cannot go beyond here because these columns goes up to this point. All right, I click full stop, then I continue. Today I'm excited to learn how to create columns. Then I've already started. And created my first columns. Good. So what you notice now, you have columns. The text does not run up to the extreme right of the page. Nope, just within this column, right? So until this column is full, this cursor will not shift to the next column. Column 1 has to be full for the cursor to move to the next column. But you can break from one column to the next column even when the first column is not full or it's not completely filled up with the text. So how do you break from one column to the other column? We call this one column break. But I want to teach you how to do column break. So let's say I want now to shift and type on this other column, not now this first current column. I want to shift to the next column. How do I do that? Use column break. How do you use column break? It's easy. You go to page, layout, menu, then you come to breaks. In the breaks here, make sure you go to column break. Column break, notice this symbol here indicating you are moving from one column, crossing over and going to a new column. There's a red mark here indicating how you're moving from this column to the next. So you just click here and your cursor will shift to the next column automatically. But here's the trick. Before you go to the next column, make sure your cursor is not here or somewhere here. If the cursor is here, it will shift together with the text that is on the right of the cursor, and to carry those text to that text to the next column. So you want to make sure that your cursor is at the last, at the bottom of your last line, right? So you go to page layout, you come to breaks, and then you click column break, and there you are. And then you can say I've learned how to break from one column to another. Pretty simple. I'm really making good progress, comma, and I'm proud of myself. Great. Now, you notice at the end of myself, I put something that looks, we used to call this one exclamation mark, if you remember. So how do you put it? Where do you get it in the keyboard? Let me delete it and show you where it is. So I'm going to delete that. Then I'm going to pull out my keyboard. So I'm going to click here. We have our keyboard. It's this here. All right. So how do you get it? Remember, for you to get it, it's the upper character on a keyboard key that has two characters. The way you get the upper character, you click shift and then you click the key, and then you get that upper character. So when I place my cursor there, make sure it's here where you want it to be. Go to your keyboard, hold down shift. I'm now holding down shift, then click this key here, and you're going to have your exclamation mark as it is here. I'm gonna close my keyboard. There you are. So now I am in the second column, right? Now let's do it again. I want to break to the third column, so I'm going to click or press enter on the keyboard to go to a new line, and now I want to break to the third column again. For the purpose of practice, let me repeat. This is how you do it. Make sure you go to page layout and make sure the cursor is at the last, it's below the last line. And sorry, by the way, this is good progress. I am this M there, remove that. I'm proud of myself. Good. So make sure the cursor is at the bottom of the last line in your column, and then you go to page layout, and then you go to breaks, and then you go to column break. Click there, and then you are on the third column. Then you can say I am on the third column now. I am on the third column now, and I would want to practice on my own to break to the fourth column. Good, there you are. Showing you how to break columns, and now this is your assignment. You're going to break to the fourth column, right? That is going to be your practice. I want you to pause this video lesson and just create columns and practice by typing the first column. If you have not been typing with me, if you have been typing with me, what I want you to do right now is break to the next column. If you have not been typing with me, I want you now to create those columns, 4 columns, and I want you to type exactly what you've typed here. You get to the third column, and then on your own break to the fourth column. So basically practice what we have covered here. So you have few minutes to do that. When you resume, we are going to get to the next level, and I'm going to show you how to switch back from columns to a normal page, right? We had a normal page initially that was not in columns. We've learned how to change to columns. But what if I want to go back to a normal page that doesn't have columns? I'll be showing you how to do exactly that. So take 2 minutes or a few minutes, pause this video lesson, get started with that. When you come back, we are going to learn how to go back to the original page, or rather reverse, and create a 1-page column, right, with no columns. And so you can know how to switch to columns and reverse back to 1 page that doesn't really have columns. So go for it. Practice creating columns, typing in a column and breaking from 1 column to the next column, and I'll see you in a minute. Welcome back. I believe you had a good practice. Now I want us to go to the next step. And what's the next step? How do we now move from having columns back to a page that has no columns, or back to, how do we reverse the process? Okay, how do we remove our columns without really touching our work that's already there? I'm going to show you how you do that. Now, to show you how we do that, I'm going to make sure that my cursor here, and you also want to make sure that your cursor is on the down below here. All right, if your cursor is here somewhere like there, it could be on the last text, or rather on the last line of the text that you created in the 4th column. Make sure your cursor is below that last line, and you can push it a little bit down the line by using enter key. So I'm gonna pull my keyboard, make sure my cursor is there, and then I'm going to use enter key to pull it down a bit there. Okay, why are we doing that? I want to make sure before I switch back to a page setup whereby there are no columns, and it does not tamper with these columns here, right? So we're going to do is basically we're going to say from this point forward we want only 1 column. It's going to retain the original columns and create just 1 column for the rest or the remaining part of this page. So we are here. In your case, it could be somewhere here in your column if you've done the assignment that I've just given you. Now let's proceed. How do we reverse this? It's very simple. All you need to do is, again, go back to page layout, and you want to go to columns, then come down to more columns, and in this case we are going to switch to 1 column. So I'm gonna click 1 column, meaning we have a page that has no columns, and we want that 1 column to be, I'll click here, we want to be this point moving forward. Be very careful. You click this point moving forward, it means from where we are moving forward We want to retain our original work as it is, but from that point moving forward, we don't want to have columns. So let's see whether that one works. Click OK. There you are. So notice now your columns were retained, but from here, if you type anything, there are no columns, right? The columns have been removed. So one section of your page has 4 columns. Another section of the same page doesn't have columns at all. That is how you create columns, and that is how you work with columns. Now, I want to show you something, one more on the columns. And we are going to create now 3 columns here. Remember, initially we have 4 columns here, but we want to create 3 columns in this section, and then we want to put a line between the columns. All right, our columns here do not have any dividing line. Now we want to create 3 columns with the dividing line. So how do you do that? We make sure we are on a new, the cursor is on the right place, and then you go to columns, more columns. This time around I want 3 columns, but I want 3 columns. Make sure here you pick this point forward, meaning from where the cursor is moving forward, you want 3 columns. But those columns, you want them to have dividing line in between them. So how do you do that? You click line between. You click line between, you're going to get line between them, and then you click OK. There you are. Now you have new column. Actually 3 columns. Notice at the ruler you have 1 column, second, and 3 column. They're going to have lines in between. Now you could only see the lines in between when you switch to the next column. That's why you cannot see the line in between here. So let's type something. So let's say something like this is my next practice on creating columns with line between them, right? And now we want to break to the next column. I'm correcting that spelling and grammar. We want to move to the next column, so I put full stop. We want to move to the next column here. If you already know how to do that, so press enter. I'm on the bottom part of the last line, and then I can just go to breaks. You already know how to do page column break. You go to column break, and here we are. Notice once you skip to the next column, you're going to get a line in between. So let's say, and now I just broke into a new column successfully, full stop, into a new column successfully. Actually not full stop, comma, and I can see the lines between these 3 columns, right? That is it. So now we have 3 columns here, and you can see the lines between the 3 columns, right? Just for the purpose of practice, break to the 4th to the 3rd column, and you can type anything that you want there. In the meantime, let's reverse this one back. Let's come back to a normal page that has no columns. So I'm gonna give you 1 minute. You already now know how to do column break. Take a break, break to the next column, type something to the next column. Make sure your cursor is right below. Sorry. Make sure your cursor is, I was just correcting the grammatical error there. So make sure your cursor is right below the last line of this line or this text on this column before you break to the other one. So break to the other one and type a text of your choice. If 1 minute to do that, go. All right, welcome back. Now What we're going to do now is we're done with columns. We know how to create columns. We know how to put lines in between columns. We know how to type inside columns, break for one column to another, right? And I hope you've already mastered that. If not, of course, you're going to do a lot of practice after this session. So let's now move to the next thing. The next thing we're going to do is very simple. First of all, we're going to clear these columns, all right? We want to clear these columns from, let me move the cursor down using the enter. From this point, we want to clear the columns. We want to make sure that from that section moving forward, there are no columns. And then I'm going to show you what you're going to do. So let's clear the columns first. How do you do it? We set very simple. You go to page layout and you go to columns. Then you come down to more columns and then you click here and make sure you pick this point forward and then make sure you give it one column. Right? One column basically means there are no columns, just one simple page. Then you click OK. Good. The columns are gone. Now you might say, I am not able to see the line break here. It will be there if you break to a new column. If you break to a new column, you're going to see the dividing line here. You want us to try it? Let's see. You go to breaks, new column, and there you go. You get to see your new line there. All right, so now I've just clicked here. By the way, if I click here, I can type anything that I want. But if I want to move from there back to here and leave this section of the columns, can just come here and click here. And then the cursor will be able to shift. Okay. Let me remove that. So we are here now. What I want us to do at this moment, I want to show you how to number your pages. As you've noticed now, we have 2 pages. And these 2 pages do not have numbers. They are not numbered. So how do you number pages? So you have page number 1, number 2, number 3. That is exactly what I'm going to show you. So here's how you do it. Very simple, not complicated. In fact, nothing really in a computer is really complicated if you are able to get a good training on how you can do it. Everything is simple, right? So how do you do it? Simple. You go to insert, all right, and then move along here and come to page number. Now don't click the page number icon, just click this drop down list button here, very small button here. You click it. I hope you can see it. You click it and you get options here. Top of the page, that means you want to enter numbers at the top of your page. At the top of your page is right here. This is the top of your page. You can enter numbers at the top of your page or at the bottom of your page or at the sideways. So you decide. So I'm going to click this now and you get this option. This way you enter the numbering at the top of your page. Probably this will help you to enter the numbers on the left top part of your page, or this helps you to enter your numbers on the top center part of your page. This helps you to enter your numbers on the right upper part of your page, and this helps you to enter your numbers on the left part of your page, and probably type something, all right, if you want. Then we come to the bottom. Now the conventional wisdom, or what you've seen over and over again, is that we number our pages at the bottom. All right, so you can put the page number on the bottom, but on the bottom left, all right, or bottom center, or bottom right, or bottom left, and you type something if you want to type something after entering your number. All right, so let's pick the conventional way of doing it. You pick a bottom, but bottom at the center. All you need to do is just click there, and that is it. Now what you notice is you might notice something like this. There's a line here, and what you used to have as a margin, that is where the number is inserted. Numbers are always inserted on the margins. All right. So now your margin is active, which means you can type anything that you want on the margin, but do not type anything. But your page is not active. So to switch from margins and get back to your page, you need to double click your page. So you come to your page and click twice, and there you go. Now you are on your page. If you scroll, you will notice that now your pages are numbered. All right, your pages are numbered. So there we are. Now, how do I add or how do I insert a new page? We currently have 3 pages, and in your computer you might have 2 pages. If you have 2 pages, no problem. I can show you how to add more and more pages. So how do I add a new page? First of all, when we add a new page, it will be automatically numbered. All right, you don't have to do it. The system will automatically do it. So how do you add a new page? It's simple. All you need to do is go to page layout, and then you come to breaks and click page break. When you click page break, your word will break from one page and go to a totally new page, right? So you just click page break, and now notice I have page number 4 down here. Page number 4, and I can add more pages. In your case, you might have page number 4, page number 3. If you have page number 3, you can add page number 4, page number 5. What's important to notice or to be careful about is make sure, let me scroll upward, make sure your cursor is not here when you are doing page break or when you're breaking or inserting a new page. If it is, it will carry the entire text here to that other page. So you make sure always your cursor is at the bottom. All right, so that when it breaks to a new page, it doesn't carry anything with it. Right, let's break to one new page or insert one new page. You go to page layout, and then you come to breaks, then you click page break. And now you might find that you have 5 pages, or you have 4 pages, depending on where you were. If I wanted to have 5 pages, I make sure my cursor is on the last page. This is page number 4. If I break into a new page, or if you break into a new page, you're going to get page number 5. Let's try it. You go to page layout, you come to breaks, then you click break to a new page, and now you have page number 5. So it's that simple. Now, I want you to differentiate. There's a difference between inserting page numbering, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and inserting a new page. A new page means if you had 2 pages, you're going to have 3 pages or 4 pages. Inserting numbering means the page will be numbered, right? So you can actually have several pages that are not numbered. So there's a difference. For inserting page number, remember you go to insert, and then you come to page number, and you pick where you want to position your page. But if you want to break into a new page, whether the pages are numbered or not, you go to page layout, and then you break into a new page, and you make sure that your cursor is on the last page, so that when you break into a new page, create a new page. Great. That's how you add page numbers, and that is how you break into a new, or that is how you insert pages. Now, I'm about to introduce you to what we call objects, right? And there are 5 objects that you are going to cover. But before I introduce the object, let me show you one more thing on the text. I want to scroll back to our original text, so upward. On this text, there's something that we call page spacing, rather line spacing, and it's the space between these pages. sorry, it's the space between these lines. You can increase that space between the lines, or you can make them smaller. If you have like, let's say if you're working on a CV, for instance, and the CV seems to occupy a lot of pages, and you want to squeeze your text to fit within one page or two pages, you can reduce the space between the lines so that you compact a ton of text within one single page. And in that case, you work with either you reduce the font size, and if it's not that enough, you can also reduce the line between the pages. Alternatively, you might have a page that has maybe you doing a write-up, and you don't have enough material to write about, or whatever it is that you're writing, you don't have enough material, but you want your document to have several pages. So in that case, you can increase the space between the lines. That way, a few text can occupy several pages, and so you're going to have several pages even though the content is minimal, right? So you can use it either way. So how do you increase the line between the space between the lines? It's easy. Let's pick, for instance, this paragraph, or the first two paragraphs. We want to increase the line between, or the space between the lines. How do you do it? You click at the beginning, you highlight like that, and then make sure you go to home menu, and then you come here. You see this one, this line and paragraph spacing. You don't click here, you click the arrow pointed downward. You click there, and the current spacing is 1.15. If I increase the spacing by 3, notice now the space between the lines have increased. All right, so that is how you increase the space between the lines. If I click here, I can make the space 1, and now you notice they are more compacted together as compared to the rest of the lines. So we call that one line spacing, and you can adjust line spacing based on your own preference. If you think the lines are too close for someone to read, then you can come to line spacing, and then you can make them, you can give it 2. Of course, 2 will be too big, so standard 1.5 or 1.15. all right, so that is it. Very, very important to master, and very, very important to understand. All right, with that done, now is the time that I introduce you into what we call objects. Up until this time, we've been covering how to manipulate text, and I've shown you how to do a lot of things with the text. And I believe from now, you can create any document that you want, any letter that you want. All right. But let me show you something small before we even dive into object. Let me show you something small. Let's say this is a document that I have created, and this document has to be signed. Okay, because you're going to see these kinds of forms whereby a document is created, and at the bottom it has the signature of it has the signatures of probably certain, maybe the person who created the document, or it's kind of a form whereby it's supposed to be signed, and it's the way such document is arranged. For instance, let's say you type in minutes. At the bottom, you're going to have chairman. All right, you're going to have chairman, and then you're going to need to have some dots here, and then somewhere here you're going to need to have signature, and then at the end you're going to have date, whereby the chairman signs, the chairman name is entered here, the chairman signature is entered there, and then the chairman indicates date. So how do you create such a format? Because these are typical, you're going to be seeing most of this. All right, and you're going to have to create such a document. So let me show you how you do it. Once you type chairman, and normally they come at the bottom. So I'm gonna bring this one down using the enter key. Once you type chairman, oftentimes when people want to put some dots here, let me show you what they do. And I don't want you to be doing this, right? Most people don't know how to do this, but now that you've taken this course, I want you to be more professional than most people. So let me pull out my keyboard and show you. When I click out my keyboard, here it is. Now most people, once they type it and they have chairman here, they come here and they keep on clicking here to place those dots. Now that's a lot of work, and this is not how we do it. Let me just finish up on this. You see how most people do it. If that clicking sound is irritating, kindly lower the volume of your video. I just want to show you how this one works. After that, we will switch. All right, so they want those dots, and then after that you have signature, whereby you enter the signature, and then they keep on placing these dots like this. Now listen, this is for those people who have not learned how to use computer. It's not professional, it's how most people do it, but I want to show you a more professional way to do it. All right, and then they come here and type date, and then they keep on, you know, putting those dots there, keep on clicking, putting those dots. Now that is not how you do it, and the reason this one is not effective, first of all, it's going to waste a lot of your time trying to put those dots, and second, if you have like another entry here like secretary, and then you still use that to put those dots, and then you come and write here signature, let's see, signature, and then you have those dots, and then you come and write here date, and then you have all those dots. Now making sure that this date and this date are exactly aligned, they start from the same point, can be very tricky and very difficult. All right, so it's a better way of doing this. So what's the better way of doing this? I'm gonna remove this and I'll show you a better way of doing this. Okay, here you are. Now you have your chairman, and you want to, let me pull it down, that I can pull down this keyboard. So click there. You want to put those dotted lines, or rather dotted space. What you do, whether it's a dotted space or just a line, what you do, you come to underline, but you don't click the underline icon. You click this button here, a small button here, we call it a drop down list button, then pick this dotted line. If you want to have a dotted line there, if you want to have a straight line, you pick the straight line. So one, or rather continuous line. If you want continuous line, pick a continuous line, but we want a dotted line. Oftentimes it's going to have dotted lines. So click the dotted line. Once you do that, you come and use the tab key. This is the tab key. When you press the tab key, it will move to your right with a specific distance. All right, so let's do it. Let me click the tab key. Notice that distance. If I click again, it will move another distance. If I click it again, another distance, right? So you use the tab key. It's right on your keyboard. It's actually written, it may not be written tab key, but it's just below where we have escape key. After escape key in your keyboard, you might see this key, the one with this kind of characters, and then after that you have the tab key. The tab key is right before you get to caps lock. So check your keyboard. Before you get to caps lock, you have tab key. Some keyboards are written tab key, others not written tab key. It's going to show you two arrows, one pointing to the right, the other one pointing to the left. Why? Because those two arrows shows you that when you press that key, the keyboard is going to move with a very specific distance. So you click tab key, you have a place for chairman, and then you type signature. And notice when I type signature, it's going to underline the signature, the dotted line. So what do? Before I type the signature, I need to go back and deactivate underline. Okay, so I come back here, I click there, I deactivate underline, then I type signature, then I activate underline by just clicking it, then I click the tab key again until I get the spacing now that I want. There you are. And then I write date. So I deactivate the underline icon or command, and then I type date. Then I go there again and I click underline, and then I click tab. I have moved several. I need to minimize that, or rather I need to go backward. So let me minimize this space. So I'll just click here and I'll click backspace to move a little bit to have enough space for the date. So backspace, there we are. So just click here, then I'll click tab key. There you are. So now you have chairman, signature, date. I press enter, and now I have the secretary. Now you notice it's underlining because this one is active. So before I type the secretary, I make sure this underline command is inactive. I click secretary, and then I go back to I activate underline command, then I use tab. Notice it is moving to a specific distance exactly where we have signature. All right, and then I can type signature. Before I type signature, I need to deactivate this one, and then I can type signature. Signature, and then I can activate the underline command, and then I can will click tab again, tab again, tab again. Then I'm going to type date. Let me deactivate the underline command, then I type date. There you go. Then I activate underline command. Great. And then I use tab. Sorry, I should use the tab. There you go. So that is how you do it. So you get to see such forms, and that's how you create them. In between, if you want the in between lines to be like continuous line, you can do continuous line. All you need to do is make sure when you come to underline here, you pick a continuous line. If you want the dash line, you pick these dashes, and you're going to have a dashed line. All right, so I want you to practice that, okay, before we dive into the next section where I show you how to work with objects. So you can pause this video, practice what you've just learned, so that you are able to create those kind of forms. And just before you do that, it's the same thing that happens if the form has some dashes to be filled, right? Like, let me close this one. If this form said, let's say for instance I, and then you're supposed to write your name here, there's a gap here, you're supposed to write your name. So how do you create that blank, or how do you put that continuous line here where someone is supposed to fill up their name? So what you do is same thing. You come to, you click underline, and then you make sure you pick a continuous line. If you want a continuous line, let me pull my keyboard back here and let me show you how you do it. I'm gonna push it up, and then I click tab. All right, I need to make sure the cursor is there, and I need to make sure the underline is correct. So then I click tab. All right, and then I deactivate underline, and then continue I of ID number Then you want another dash for putting the ID, so I activate this one, and then I click tab. Good. And then I deactivate it. ID number, hereby agree with terms of this memorandum. I'm just conjuring something here. It doesn't have to really be true, just coming up something here just to show you how this one works. So I, the name of the person, of ID number, their ID, hereby agree with the terms of this memorandum. And then comma, which was signed in the presence of, and then let's say we want a witness in the presence of the name of the witness, so we're going to need a continuous line for the name of the witness. So I'm gonna activate this one, and then I just use tab. Okay, and the witness is going to enter their name there. In the presence of, they enter their name. On day, on date, and then you're supposed to enter your date. So I'm gonna click underline, and then I'm going to start right on date of, sorry, I deactivate, sorry, tab, on date, tab, we have the date there, and then full stop. Okay, I make sure before I put the full stop I deactivate the and then I put full stop. So I of ID hereby agree the terms of this memorandum, which was in the presence of, the name of the witness, on, and then the given date. Now that is how you do it. It's that simple. So I want you to take your time and practice this. Either you can pause this video lesson and practice how to do this, or you can decide to do it later on. But I really do encourage you, pause this video lesson right now, take your time and practice this before you forget. When you do practice instantly, immediately, you'll be able to see the progress that you're making in every single video lesson. So I want you to pause, practice this. I'm gonna give you a few minutes, and then when we come back, I will introduce you to working with objects. So go for it, get started, practice this, then I'll see you after a few minutes. All right, great. I hope you've done enough practice. If you haven't, you can just pause, do enough practice, and resume. When you come back, I'll be here and you're going to kick off. But I want to believe at this moment you've done it, so let's just continue. Now, I want to introduce you to objects. I'm going to close this keyboard. Now, I want to introduce you to objects. Now, before I introduce you to object, let's do one very important thing. When you're working on any given document, you should always make sure you keep on saving your work. Why? If power goes off, you are going to lose everything you've been creating. This document will be gone, right? And especially if you're using a desktop computer whereby power can go off, you want to make sure that you're continually saving your work, so if for one reason or the other power goes off, you don't lose your document. So I want to show you how to save your document. Even more important, how to save your document in a specific folder that you created on day one. So how do you save your document? You come here, you can click this save button, and especially if you're saving for the first time, you can click this save button. Or you can go to file, and this is what I recommend. Go to file, and then you go to see the same save button there. Then you click save button. If you click save button, what the computer will do is it will open the different locations within a computer where you can save your work. Notice now this window comes up, and all these are different locations where I can save my work. If I scroll here, there are all these locations. The major one are desktop, document, pictures, downloads. Let's scroll down to see the other key ones. We have music, we have video, pictures. I can choose to save it anywhere I want. I want to save it on desktop. So how do I access desktop? If I click this desktop, the computer will open the desktop and show me all that is in the desktop right here, including the folders that I created in the desktop if there are any. So let's go to desktop, click desktop. Here we are. This is what's in the desktop, and there are only these two folders. So if I want to create, or if I want to save this work in one of the folders here, like called my music, I can do that. Alternative, if I don't want to create or save it in one of these folders, but I want to create a new folder right here and save it there, all I need to do is come here and click new, and a new folder will be created here. And then I can call this one, let's call it course practice. Okay, let's call it my course practice actually. So I'm gonna type my course practice. Just type it on the keyboard, my course practice. There it is. So now you have this folder called my course practice. It's where you want to save this document. Now you can also give this document a name apart from the name that you have here. So let's remove this name. You just click on the name, it will be highlighted, and you can call it practicals, my practicals, okay, or just practicals. So you type practicals, and that's all. Now you have your file, you've given it a name, but you want to keep it here. So to save it in this folder, you have to open the folder. Otherwise, if you click save, it will save this work on the desktop, not inside this folder. So want to save it inside this folder, you double click the folder to open it. You click twice and the folder opens, and now there's nothing inside the folder. That's where we want to save our work. I just click save, and now notice the name of your file is no longer now document, it's a file. A document is anything you create using any program before you save it. Once you save it, it becomes a file, right? And that's the difference between a file and a document. A document is before you save it. Once you save it, it becomes a file. And now we have a file called practicals and saved in that folder. We shall open the folder later on and see whether that file is there, but we have saved our work. Now, with that, you can take a minute or two to practice that. And now let's get to the final part of this video lesson. And what we're going to do is I'm going to introduce you to object, and then in the next lesson we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the object. So objects, these are, as the name suggests, these are objects, they are not text, and there are about 5 objects. We have in Word, you can create a table, it's an object. We have clipboards, these are basically pictures that are built within Word, those are objects. We have charts, we have charts. Think of different types of charts, we're going to learn how to do that. And then we have word art, we have basic shapes, and you have text boxes. So we're going to learn how to handle those. Let's get started. I'm going to do a very simple introduction, and then we're going to dive into this really seriously on the next lesson. So let's say you want to create a table. Okay, how do you come up with that table? It's very simple. To create a table as an object, All you need to do is you need to go to insert menu, and then you come down here where we have this table, click this small button here, and you get to see all these options. Now if I point at that section of our table and I move along, what you notice on the screen here is it is creating a table of, and I move down, it now has created a table of how many columns? Columns are the vertical partitions. It has a table of around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? 6 columns and 2 rows. If I move to another row down there, the table will have 3 rows. If I move to another row down there, the table will have 4 rows. If I move alongside to my right and add another column, the table will have more columns. That is how you create a table. Just click OK, and I have my table. It's that simple. That is one way of creating a table. There's another way of creating a table which might be more effective than this one. Let's see the second method. The second method of procedure is you go to insert, you go to table, and instead of going to just moving your mouse pointer here to determine what table you want, which of course you will get, you go to insert table, you click insert table, and this insert table custom dialog box will open, and this one enables you to decide the number of columns you want in that table, the number of rows. What are columns? They are these vertical partitions, the ones that are running downwards. This is a column, this is a column, this is a column, this is another column. What are rows? They are the horizontal partitions, the one that are running from the left all the way to the right. So those are rows. So let's create a table with 6 columns and 5 rows, right? So number of columns, we make them 6. So you click here to either add columns or you click here to reduce columns. So we want 6 columns. Rows, we want 5. So let's add them to 5. There you are, and then you click OK. There you are. So you have now a table with one column, another column, another column, another column, 6 of them. And rows, we have 1 row, 2nd row, 3rd row, 4th row, and 5th row. This is how you create a table. Now, this one final method that may not be as effective, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because you might really need to use it. And this is where you draw the table yourself. All right, so you make sure that your cursor is outside any given table, and we can draw the table here ourselves. How do you do that? Pretty simple. You go to insert, you come to table, and don't use this option and don't use insert table, just go to draw table. You click the table. What you get now is a pencil, and this pencil allows you to draw your table. So how do you draw it? Now you click and hold your left mouse button at the point where you want to start your drawing. Hold your left mouse button, do not release it, and drag your mouse. It's going to draw for you a box. All right, now you have your box. All you need to do now is put some columns, some dividing lines moving downward, and other lines moving across. Then you have your table. So how do you do that? Again, you move your mouse pointer at the border, click and hold down the left mouse button, and then drag it down. You're going to have a column. You click there, you drag it down, you're going to have a column. You click there, you drag it down, you need to have a column. You click there, you drag it down, you need to have a column. You can have as many columns that you want. You go there, you drag it down, and you're going to have a column. Click there, you drag it down, you're going to have a column. Click there, drag it down, you're going to have a column. And then you can click there, hold down the left mouse button, drag to the right, you're going to have a row. You click there, hold it down, drag to the right, you're going to have a row. Click and hold it down, drag to the right, you're going to have a row. There you are. So you have your own table which you've just drawn. That is how you draw tables. You have three methods or three procedures, and all of them work. But the most important, the most effective is the one whereby you insert the table and you specify the rows and the columns. Having said that, we're going to delete these tables. I'm going to show you how to delete tables. Then I'm going to give you an assignment. And then when we meet in the next lesson, we are going to work with tables and charts. If time allows, I will introduce you to other objects. So for now, here is what we're going to do. Let's delete these tables. How do you delete a table? First of all, you notice you still have your pencil ready to draw. If you double click on the page twice, the pencil will disappear. It will tell the MS Word that you are done drawing. So just double click, the pencil disappears. So back now into cursor. So how do you delete this table? Now, if you move your cursor over any given table, at the top left corner, this corner of the table, you're going to see a plus sign there. Notice this plus sign here. Move it here, notice this plus sign. When you click that plus sign, it will select the entire table. And then you can decide whether you want to delete it, whatever you want to do with it. So let's delete this table. How do you do it? Move your mouse pointer there, then move along, get to the plus sign, you click the plus sign. Click the plus sign, select the entire table, go to layout. You want to delete it. Where do you go? Layout menu. Click layout, come to delete here, click right there, and then come to delete table. Click delete table, the table is gone. All right, let's do it. Let's delete this one. Move your mouse pointer over the table, move here, click, move your mouse pointer here where we have this plus and click the plus sign, select the entire table, go to go to layout, not page layout, layout. There's a difference. It's a difference between page layout, which is here, and layout, which is here. All right, so you go to layout and then you go to delete and then you click table and it is gone. Now, here's your assignment. I want you using the insert method or procedure to come up with a table that has 6 rows and 6 columns. All right, we've come up with the one that has 5 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 columns. I want you to come up with one that has 6 columns and 6 rows. And that is what you're going to be working with in the next video lesson. For what and how we do it? Simple. Go to insert, go to table, come to insert table, specify here 6 columns and 6 rows. Click OK, you'll be good to go. That's your assignment for this lesson. So go ahead, design your table that has 6 columns and 6 rows, and I'll see you in the next video lesson. Once you've done that, I want you to take your time and review everything we've learned in this video lesson. We really covered a ton of things. You're gonna need to create time to practice all that. So take your time, practice, and I will see you tomorrow as we dive into the next video lesson where we are going to really be taking a deep dive into working with object. Until then, remember this: practice is the mother of skill. Do enough practice, master these basic skills, and I'll see you in the next video lesson.